Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Moving into the Future. Today, we are joined by Michael Monette of Move Solutions. Move Solutions is a proud partner of the Total Office Solutions family. And we're also joined by Anthony Parziale, president of the Advanced Group, my first recurring guest on the podcast. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today. These are, for our listeners, these are two of the most successful gentlemen in the moving industry. So today we're going to have a nice conversation about growing your move business over time and the founding of OMA and, what that means for the future of the industry as well. So again, thank you for joining me, gentlemen.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for having us, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little background. Michael has had his business for 34 years, built it from the ground up in Dallas, Texas, and he serves all of the major markets in Texas. So Michael, I want to start with you. Growing your business that much, and then in the last 10 years, having the proposition of OMA, the Office Moving Alliance, brought to you. What has that meant for you as a founding member when that first started, and how has it helped you, grow your business, and what was it that was appealing about OMA, when you first got started?
Well, I want to point out that OMA is actually 16 years old, not 10. And I say that because I think it's an important thing, anything that's going to be in front of the public, that we talk about our legacy and our tenure that we've been in the marketplace. OMA not only has been in business for 16 years, it's been in business through three of the most significant recessions our country's ever had. One driven by pandemic, one driven by liquidity crisis, and the one before that just driven by stupidity. And so OMA is another gate. It's another revenue gate in one respect. It's an extension or continuity of an entity that may have a local or regional presence. You mentioned that we're successful in the major markets of Texas. A little bit of a shortfall there. We're successful in the major markets of the North American continent.
Right.
As OMA has grown, so has grown Move Solutions, both in its local footprint where we've widened and deepened our resource base, but additionally in a national prospect. What OMA brings to an OMA member in terms of opportunity is if you truly embrace the power of OMA, then you embrace the power of morphing your own internal resources into something more significant. To be able to work on a national basis requires a very different infrastructure than be able to run trucks and guys around the city you live in. And so it's been a significant journey, a significant add to our resource base, a significant add to our revenue base, and a significant, most important of all, significant add to the ability of our firm to think quickly, decisively, with confidence, whether local or national.
Yeah, that's really well said. That's, the way by just being a member of OMA, it elevates your company, strictly by membership. And then once you get involved in the organization, then you heighten, yourself and your employees to even another level. Because again, you've just immediately expanded from a local company, like you said, running movers and trucks, to a national organization, servicing all cities in North America. Anthony, I certainly think you would tend to agree to that. But again, as a founding member who was, meeting with Michael 16 years ago, what was it that was most appealing to you about joining the organization at first and the potential that you saw in it?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm going to say that everything Michael said was very well said, and I agree with pretty much everything he said. What was most appealing to me was, first of all, I found that, I was in a room with the best of the best, guys that have been doing this for certainly even longer than me and are very successful at it. So one of the interests I had from the get-go was the fact that I was able to share best practices with this group, and they acted as almost like a brain trust to me. Being a bit younger in this business, we've gone through several growing pains at the Advanced Group over the last 20 years. our company, the Advanced Group, has grown significantly. And being part of this group had allowed me to basically learn from some of their mistakes. So it cut my learning curve, or I more quickly got through those growing pains. And I didn't have to make the same mistakes that they might have. Because they say one of the best ways to learn is make a mistake, which I've done plenty of those in my career. But if I could rely on some of the folks in the group that have done such a great job with their companies, it allows me to avoid those mistakes. So the best practice sharing for me was definitely one of the best things I felt. Especially since we're in the same business competing, but not necessarily in the same local markets. So it allowed us to be a bit more open and to share those ideas.
Very true. Very true. And both well said. And, I think that's an important thing, to know that you're a phone call away from some of the top leaders in this industry in their respective markets is such a, nice asset to have, as part of your business. And I think it's very important too, because when OMA was getting started, it was a roundtable meeting, between business leaders to come together and, create a fraternity, brotherhood, group where we're going to trust each other and we're going to work together to raise ourselves. And prior to that, nothing like this existed. There was the van line solution, but that was more so built for the residential aspect of moving and storage and things of that nature. And Michael, we were talking about it before. How important is that to have these local commercial moving leaders in these markets who you can go to, opposed to the van line solution? Why is that important for you?
Well, I'll give you two examples. In the last 2 weeks, we've had cause to do significant business outside of Texas. One of them was in a city that isn't currently, how do I want to say this? Adequately sized. The local OMA member isn't adequately sized to the task that we had. And so one of those rare moments where we had no choice due to the complexity of the task to use a local van line agent who we vetted. And so we did the task. We ended up working with contract labor where we weren't expecting that. The guys didn't do that badly. It was kind of a medium job response. But then we find out 2 days later, when the client wants to view some of the furniture that was taken offsite to the warehouse, that has been put into residential vaults. And so this vault is a big wooden box, and that big wooden box is now in the middle of a great big wooden box made up of a bunch of little wooden boxes, and there's no go look at your chairs. And so there's a mentality there that's not connected to the one thing, the two things, the three things that make up office moving. Starting with furniture, does it exist? Are we going to touch it? Following up with their general contents typically creates things like that. But then something that we were part of inventing in the country is how movers do technology services of disconnect, reconnect, topology, low voltage cabling, dressing cabling. So when you're dealing with an OMA member, you're dealing with someone that understands what you do for a living, where the business generated itself, where it was born with that client. So there's one example. We were old school, exposed to that environment. Another example is just 3 or 4 days ago, one of our youngest salespeople, who's a lady, had an opportunity with a local national-based CRE, commercial real estate firm, where their top property manager, 42 years old, another lady, had an emergency pop up in Las Vegas, in this case, with a building that has 41 tenants, 18 floors, and they've discovered a foundation issue significant enough that they need to clear the building right away. And so she'd been exposed, the property manager had been exposed to a little talk we'd given, called over. My lady shot over to Las Vegas in about 4 hours, walked in with a local OMA guy that we just did $1 million project with at Nellis Air Force Base, kind of rebuilding Nellis Air Force Base. We had proposals to her for every one of 41 tenants in a day and a half, and started working in the second day. Because it's a continuity of our firm, in this case to Las Vegas, where our very capable partner there, they didn't have to discover who we were. They didn't have to discover who we work as. They didn't have to worry about payment or sequence of money. You just go to work. It's an amazing thing.
Right. And that, process and streamlining capability that is allowed, again, through OMA to, make things happen quickly for the client, because that really is the most important aspect of all of this, is servicing our clients in a greater way compared to our competition. And, we're both in major markets too, with Dallas and New York respectively, where we can offer a competitive advantage that our competition simply can't. And, to be able to do this, Michael, like you said, in all North American markets, wherever there is a need, and if we have a connection in that market that stems from a local connection, that makes our clients' jobs so much easier. And to do an 18-story clear out, and have it mobilized within essentially 48 hours is an impressive feat that could not be produced or allowed for, if you weren't incredibly qualified and a part of this organization, simply put. And again, that could go wrong so many different ways. If that client's in a bind and they start, going on Google or Yelp or, somewhere searching moving companies, and they wind up with a residential mover who simply isn't equipped for the job, but there's not many movers I know who are going to walk away from an 18-story clear out, considering the price tag that's available on that. So to be able to do that, knowing that you have, yeah, exactly. Knowing you have the right person.
I would be a complete failure if I didn't take just 2 minutes to insert back into there. As wonderful a story as that is, we have stories that beat that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to the fall of 2021, where one of our global clients approached us and told us that they were about to bankrupt 51 of their properties, involving 128 project moves, and that we would never be given more than 4 or 5 hours notice. And so one of the major jobs we had, 3-4 stories, as I recall, right dead in the middle of Manhattan, right here with your own Mr. Parziale, 5 hours notice, and you're complete mobilized on site, starting to move people out in the middle of Manhattan, for crying out loud.
Right.
And that project went well, and I'm pleased to report that all 127 of those projects went well, all provided either by our firm in our locale or by able OMA partners throughout the country. It was an amazing example of where someone who's got national business or continental business can turn to this and have truly reliable people on the other end of every one of those phone calls. And I want to offer one more advantage here. We talked about it offline a moment ago when we were talking about comparatives to the historic van line agent and not, is one of the things that when a large client comes to us, what's a large client? Well, that's minimum regional, national, global. I have 3 global clients that we work with. And then OMA itself, I think, is in Nigeria today doing a project. But when you deal with OMA, you're not dealing with an entity that is subject to bankruptcy.
Right.
Our industry in the last 10 years has seen 2 significant bankruptcies. The cane companies along the Eastern Coast, and I can use their name, they're gone, it's dead. We'll talk about the dead. The cane companies disappeared in a single day. And then one of my favorite humans on the planet, David Grable, did an amazing job of building a 45-city van line. And as that drifted towards decline, it bankrupted in a single day. Left people, hundreds of jobs across the country, in the midst of the jobs, it's gone. With OMA, the worst you can have is, we've never had this, but a partner will bankrupt, then the other partners fill that hole. We're a resurgent, tough, resilient, economically unfallible entity.
Exactly. And that strength and partnership is so important. And Anthony, you probably know better than me because again, you're a founding member, along with Michael, and you've seen the evolution of OMA and how that works, and again, Michael just said it too with this project that we just did. What is that well, I should say, what does this fraternity of OMA, mean to you when you get that call from Michael saying, listen, Anthony, or, it might go to Jeff, listen, Jeff, we got one of our biggest national accounts, we know who it is. We need your guys there in 5 hours, and here's what we're doing, and here's what needs to get done. That's got to be a different phone call from a lot of other people. But, when you get that call, how are you operating from there? What are you doing to make sure that you're representing Michael and Move Solutions in the best way possible?
Yeah, well, first of all, it starts with training in our organization. So from the top down, everybody that works for my company lives and breathes OMA. OMA is treated, a partner calls, it's treated as a priority. There's no such thing as no. There's no such thing as we need more time. To Michael's point, sometimes we get a call within 4 or 5 hours, we need to move. And we need to gear up and get labor to a job site and start performing the work. The example Michael used in Manhattan, I think we had less than 24 hours notice when that first job came into Manhattan, and it was a sizable job. This wasn't a job I needed to send the truck and a couple of guys to. We had to man the job with 30 plus laborers, a few trucks, project manager and oversight. The speed to market demands from these type of clients are huge. And it's our responsibility as partners to take that very seriously. And our goal is to provide a seamless service. So although the company that Michael may be dealing with is headquartered in some other part of the country, Michael has the relationship in Texas. The work is being performed in New York. It seems, this can't be presented in a disjointed way. That phone call is as if we're all one company. And it's handed, and we all have a vested interest to perform. And it's something that we live and breathe every day. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that makes a ton of sense. And, again, I think so almost like fairy tale about the start of OMA and the group coming together. I've heard so many stories about it. I'd actually like to hear right now, what was it like when you two first met? Was it at that round table? Was it in person? Michael, why don't you tell me the story about the first time you met Anthony?
So Michael doesn't go to very much. Let me think now. I know I went to one of the early meetings was in New Orleans, and John Kane was there. Anthony, you were at that, weren't you?
I believe so. It's so long ago, Jack. It's
right. So let's make this my team, because OMA and your place in OMA is never decided. It's never defined by the faces you see on the screen today.
Right.
Yeah. The Michael of today leads and is responsible for supporting over 400 families across what is now 5 firms, Move Solutions being one of them, all of which focus on the tenant. We're busy being that guy. Yeah. Anthony's being busy being that guy. Now we have another partner who's probably bigger than both of us, who still spends all of his time in trucks. He calls me twice a week from the cab of a truck. I think he calls Anthony too, actually.
Yeah, he does.
We kind of keep him this side of nuclear explosion, but
yeah.
On this particular meeting, my folks had been nagging at me, "You're a founder, come to this." And it was, I think, one of the second annual meeting or something. So I got in my car in Dallas, Texas one day, and I drove to New Orleans. It's about an 8-hour drive, and I needed a break. And so I drove down through the swamps, and occasionally you see the gators missing heads because there's a bounty for that head. And so that's the original roadkill. But I get there and I check into the Royal Sonesta on Bourbon Street, and I'm fine. And then the first meeting really is after dinner in a bar. And this is working everything against my sense of how I want to spend my time. I'm really not a drinker, and so I go and I walk in, and a lot of people see me and say, Michael, how's this and that? Then this one guy, John Kane, all right, walks up and he says, so you're Mike Monette. And I said, well, so you're John Kane. And he goes, how many crates do you have? He wanted to compare how many crates did we each have, in some sense of that sets the pecking order. And it was hilarious. John didn't think it was hilarious, but that's my memory of the first time I met OMA member owners in the collective. It's summarized by, how many crates do you have? And so Anthony is far more polished than that. He doesn't care how many crates I have.
No,
There's a lot more to business than that.
definitely not.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. Certainly. And I've heard stories about that. That's not the same New Orleans event that Jim went to, was it, Anthony?
I don't think so. I think that was earlier on. Yep.
Right. Okay. All right. I'm just trying to get my sense of time here.
New Orleans is a favorite OMA meeting place.
Yeah.
For lots of great reasons. It's a wonderful city. We have a spectacular partner there. I will tell you though, on that particular meeting, I went back and I went to bed, and I woke up about, I don't know, 2:30 in the morning and drove back to Dallas.
God bless you. God bless you.
I wasn't in the mood for meetings that week. I had able representation. I had a great moonlight drive back to Dallas.
That's not a bad drive back. I could see how that being nice and peaceful. But one of the things that you said during that answer was, being responsible for over 400 families and 5 different companies, Move Solution being one of them. That's an interesting aspect of both of our businesses, and I think something that we share is being very dynamic and offering several different services and products to our clients. Michael, in 34 years, how have you approached that growth? Getting into different avenues where you see an opportunity and you think, I can grow my business here. This is another revenue source for me. What does that look like? Because again, as a young professional who's trying to grow their own business in some sense, I'm looking for those opportunities as well. And OMA has helped you so much in business. Michael, how has it helped you personally?
I think you have to consider 2 things. And, while we had this little break a minute ago, I pulled something off my wall that I'm going to try to show here.
So that's a Move. It says Move Solutions. It's like a tag. It's an old Move Solutions tag there. Is that what that is?
It's a 3rd grader's business card made of clay. And so my daughter, Amy, who is now 41 years old and is our chief operating officer for Total Office Solutions, and you guys know her well, and is the general manager for the Dallas, basically in North Texas region. At that time, was the little girl that made that Move Solutions business card at the beginning. And it hangs in my office on just to the left side of the door to remind me that my own sense of self, and we'll see how close I come to Anthony here, okay? My own sense of self of being a swashbuckling pirate, pilot, sword aloft, plunge forward, follow me personality has to be moderated with backstops financially and with effort in respect of the families that we employ. Why are we in business? Well, most of us as OMA members long ago reached a moment of, how much do you need when you have enough? Mm-hmm. And so that's not some far to the left comment of any kind. It's reality. How much do you need when you have enough? And then begs the question of, what do you do with the rest? And the people that I've met within OMA unilaterally have elected to continue to invest in their business. They've continued to invest in the people around them. I was with an interview yesterday. We're interviewing someone to be the president of our furniture platform. We're now one of the largest furniture dealers in the Southwestern United States. And we had come out of our showroom downtown. It's 90,000 square feet. And there's probably 40, 45 cars in the parking lot. And he asked me, are these all clients? And I said, well, no, there's not that many people in there. I said, what these are families. When I go to one of our facilities and I see cars in the parking lot, I see a family. I see a man and a woman and 3 kids and a dog. I don't see a Honda. And it's just like this little business card. It's a reminder that the more successful we are, whether it's with OMA or local business, that we have a responsibility for a couple of words. And those words are predictability and stability.
Mm-hmm.
What we offer our client, what we require from our suppliers, and what we offer each other as co-workers is predictability, stability. That means no puzzles, no mysteries, and no surprises. And any of us, anybody listening that ever listens to this, I just described what we all want. A little bit of love mixed in there and appreciation. I just described a life. And that's the joy of this. I mean, my goodness, I know you're looking at the youngest 69-year-old you've ever seen this morning. And notice my grin and my enthusiasm. I love what we do. My daughter says it's because I view it as a hobby. It's a pretty serious hobby at this point.
Certainly is, and quite an interesting one as well. Anthony, and that was very well said, Michael. Thank you. Anthony, for you as well, because again, when you started at the advanced group in 2001, it was, I think you sat down with Jim, and it was, not an idea, but, it was a very, what's the best way to put it? Like a very, small operation, and mostly doing a lot of residential work. And the Malloy Brothers is obviously, one of the most impressive residential moving companies in, the tri-state area. But as far as the commercial, brand and division, it was in its infancy. That's what I was looking for. What was it when you were getting started there and you've seen it grown that has been most rewarding and allowed for you to, try different things and seek new opportunities and grow the business?
Well, one of the most rewarding things for me was, look, the relationship that I had from day one with Jim Malloy is, it's a special relationship. He's always encouraged me. He's always supported me. He's let me try ideas, even though some of those ideas didn't always work out. He knew I had to learn some lessons on my own and allowed me to do so. But, he always supported me in my vision, in the ways I wanted to grow the company. And I think it's rewarded both of us, very kindly. And certainly over the last bunch of years, similar to Michael, it's a lot of responsibility that comes with this type of position and with success. And, we have a lot of families that depend on this company to feed their families. I take that responsibility very, very seriously. We have a few hundred employees here as well. And, basically what I've gotten the most out of my leadership role, certainly over the last, 5-8 years or so, is helping other people become successful,
Yeah.
Coaching them, mentoring them, supporting them in the same way I was supported. And what that's done is not only made the company more successful, it's just built a bigger loyalty, a higher quality of individual. And this goes from, a salesperson in my company to a driver. We've supported so many people to help grow their careers. And it's like a family. It's absolutely like a family.
Yeah. And that's a really, important thing that you said as far as helping, because one of the reasons why I got into moving is because I enjoyed helping people, and however I could do that, I just wanted to help, whether it's, carrying groceries up the stairs or, helping out for a day, doing yard work or whatever it was. As a kid, I was always looking to help my friends and my neighbors and my family. And, that's what I liked about the moving industry as a whole. So, you said it, Anthony and Michael, you said it too. When we're able to help our, coworkers and employees grow themselves and, take care of their families, it's a very rewarding experience. So, not only are we helping our clients, through a very strenuous move process, but we're also helping our employees grow as people and as families and so on and so forth. So I think that's a foundation of, every mover out there is really, they're just looking to help, and moving's our way to do it. I think I can speak for all of us when I say, we weren't blessed with the commitment to hitting the books and stuff like that. So, becoming doctors and lawyers and helping in that way probably wasn't in the cards for us. But, we found our route, and that was in moving. And, we've done so much so far. I shouldn't say me, but you gentlemen have done so much so far. What I'm really interested in too is, Michael, where do you see the future of the business? Because you said predictability from the client side. How are we predicting the future of the industry and what we've seen coming out of the pandemic and where we see the future of the office going and work in general? What is your opinion on how we're going to see, the future of the business and how we can continue to grow?
Well, I need a minute to get over my shock that you just reached out and swept me into your poor grades in K through 12. With some thought of that was all of us.
That wasn't you? That wasn't you. I can't imagine.
No, I did okay. Honestly.
I did okay. I got by. I had like a B plus average. I did enough. I did enough.
Yeah. One of the things I love when I'm at an OMA anything is to get away from the groups and grab an Anthony or grab a David Blair or grab a John Flood or the different people that Doug Hollings has, and get a private moment, a private breakfast. And one of the things I like to do in the midst of that, because this is core to the way that we come together and then we turn into this rock hard exterior. It's what are the roots to the inside of that? And to hear their stories. My story was just poor kid out of Montana, South Dakota, went to war. I'm old enough that I was in the last part of Vietnam, and then the Cold War, and then coming home, and I worked during the day, went to college at night, got through college, Jack, and actually had a career. I was doing just fine. And then in the course of a single day, I got the highest award Bell Atlantic offered and got fired 18 hours later. So there's talent in that kind of thing. and woke up the following morning being sure that I'd never be fired for being right again, and starting a technology company called Move Solutions, where the O in Move was the symbol of an atom. The PCs were brand new, and that's all we wanted to do was disconnect, reconnect PCs at $150 a pop. What's it go for today? About 21?
Yeah, something
but,
like.
But we all have these stories, and we find ourselves in the moving industry. And again, this is connected to OMA, because as a country, we think of moving as lowbrow, low tech, just what you said, all the losers fall their way into it. You got to work on that, Jack. That's just not true.
I wasn't saying anything.
Okay. So, and we build something in the midst of that. And invariably you find, whether it's my story, Anthony's story, when you start talking about that something, you start hearing an awareness of brand and how vital it is to defend your brand. How vital it is to understand that relationships are everything. How vital it is to understand that process is the way you bring an eclectic work population together and to get an expected outcome. So, I'm not sure how this is hitting what you're looking for there, but all of that comes together with a commonality when you start bumping into OMA members, because they've worked their way through the barriers and hurdles before they're ever allowed to be an OMA member. I was in a meeting with Anthony yesterday of the highest level for a moment, where we were told that OMA has received 58, I believe it was, applications year to date. They're considering one.
Right.
The hurdle has gotten higher just to be an OMA member in the midst of all the advancements that we're making.
Yeah, that is an impressive part of it too, because people are seeing the writing on the wall. with this organization as a whole. It's,
Well, Jack, I got to tell you, the first part of that application is a reading test. So,
I mean, let me preface what I was saying there, Michael. And let me also say, I was a B+ student in high school. I think I got a B in college. I was very much, I'm a relationship person. Let's put it that way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. There's the foundation that I'm talking about. I wasn't going to be cubed up in a dorm room, reading whatever.
well, you see, when you throw something like that out there, the New York in me comes out.
That's right. That's right. I don't blame you. But no, you're absolutely right. And the level of excellence that is needed to be a part of OMA is significant. And that's not just from a business perspective, but also from a personal perspective. You really do have to be a quality person, get good grades, and make sure you're doing things the right way. But yeah, this has been great, and we could go on for I think a long time. So we're certainly going to have to do this again. Michael, thank you so much for joining me. There was a lot of good insight today, good stories. I think the next time you come on, we're not even going to talk about moving, and we're going to talk about your childhood. Basically the years from let's say 5 to 25, and we'll get those stories.
I wanted to make sure that we all understood that the people that. My story isn't so unique. We end up in the moving industry, which is difficult. I've had a couple careers, and one of the things that Anthony and I have to do is we have to lead work populations in an environment where there is rarely a satisfaction moment.
Right.
One of the things that comes with doing this as a living is that there's rarely a moment where you can pause, look at that and say, wow, look what we did and look what we did well, because that day's 100 more is pressing on you. And so we've had to deliver, based upon our backgrounds, whether it's scholar or military or just vagabond on the earth, we've got to use all of that, weave it all together in life's loom to where we lead people based upon the future, almost never the moment.
Right.
And I'm telling you, the future of, I know Anthony's firm is bright because we know them well. We see all the right things taking place. I'm reasonably confident Move Solutions is going to continue to do well, enough that my daughters are growing up in the middle of it. And that's a significant responsibility right there, is that when you allow your children to work within a family business, I'd like to think that every parent wants to think that they're allowing that because it's in their child's best interest, which provides another layer of, we have to be excellent.
Yep.
And you see a lot of that around them. So
certainly. And yeah, Amy and Megan have done a really incredible job, and, to grow the business, and be part of, that hurdle. You mentioned it, and I'm going to use the same analogy, to continue to get higher and, that level of excellence. So yeah, and I'm very happy to not only know you, but them as well. And, again, as young individuals in this business, the sky's the limit where we can take it. And I'm glad to know that, we have partners like you, and I get to work with people like, Megan and Amy. It's a reward for me. And, I'm very, very excited for what's to come. So, Michael, thank you again. Anthony, thank you. And gentlemen, onward and upward.
all right, guys.
Next time we do this, we'll talk it over. All right.
Fellas.
Yeah, me too. This was great. Thanks again, gentlemen. All right.
Bye now.
Have a good day.
Take care.
Bye.